Our story today begins in 1944, during World War II, when the war was raging between Japan and the Allies. There was a young man named Taro Nakamura, a Taiwanese man who worked with the Japanese army. But as the battles intensified, Nakamura decided to escape to one of the islands to avoid the war. In 1944, Nakamura reached the island, where fierce battles were underway between Japan and the Allies. Amidst the fog of war, communication between Nakamura and his unit was cut off, and news became scarce. When Japan surrendered in 1945, the news of the end of the war did not reach Nakamura, who believed the fighting was still ongoing. At that time, Nakamura had no choice but to survive. He retreated to the dense forest, where he built a small hut made of bamboo and leaves. He relied on his hunting and foraging skills to survive. He constantly moved around to avoid predators and talked to himself out loud to maintain his mental balance. Loneliness was Nakamura's constant companion. He hadn't seen anyone in years and longed to return to his homeland, but he thought that would be impossible given the ongoing war. In 1974, while a pilot was flying over Marosha Island, he noticed a small hut in the middle of the forest. The pilot reported it to the authorities, who began searching for the owner of the hut. After days of searching, they found Nakamura, who was wearing an old Japanese military uniform and carrying a rusty rifle. When Nakamura was told that the war had ended 29 years earlier, he didn't believe it at first, but eventually he was convinced and decided to return to Taiwan. Nakamura arrived in Taiwan in 1975, where he was welcomed as a national hero. He later stated that he didn't know the war had ended, and that he had wished he could have returned home sooner. After returning to Taiwan, Nakamura couldn't adapt to civilian life and decided to return to the island. In 1979, Nakamura was arrested in the middle of the island on charges of espionage and was sentenced to 3 years in prison. After his release, Nakamura wrote a book about his experience in the forest, which became very popular, and his story spread around the world. Taro Nakamura was not just a soldier. He was a symbol of resilience, determination, and hope. His story teaches us that a person can adapt to the harshest conditions and that hope can remain alive even in the darkest of times.